The world of Pokemon is vast, taking inspiration from our own world to craft towns, cities, and points of interest that try to represent real world iconography in a way that represents the original inspiration while also serving its in game purpose. Throughout this series, we will explore the various key locations of the Pokemon world and discuss the real life history behind them. Of course, where else to start but the Kanto region? Now, before we begin, I will also note that this series will largely be organized based on where you go in game. If I ever make a video where I combine the cities into one video, then I'll probably organize them in a chronological order. So, with that being said, let's get started with our own Kanto hometown, Pallet Town. Now, Pallet Town is actually an interesting case for a location in Pokemon, where the real world spot does not actually seem to be what the town is based on. While on a map of Japan, Pallet Town would be located where Shimoda City is, that seems to not be the actual inspiration for the town. Instead, it seems to be inspired by the city of Mashida, the hometown of Satoshi Tajiri, the creator of Pokemon himself. Now, I must state, it has been very hard to find a proper primary source saying that Pallet Town is based on Mashida. The closest I could find was a blog post from a user named Celeste, which I will link in the description below alongside all my other sources, that references a manga from 2018 titled Satoshi Tajiri, the man who created Pokemon. That seems to confirm that Pallet Town was in fact based on his hometown, despite not being located in the same place on the map. Now, it should be stated that I am just assuming this based on others' usage of this reference, as the book has never been translated into English, and I cannot find any PDF files of it online. And unfortunately, I'm not going to spend over $100 on eBay to purchase a copy and then find someone to translate it just to find that. However, in recent years, the city of Mashida has marketed itself as the real world Pallet Town, including creating Pokemon themed tourist spots. So, all that out of the way, I think it's safe to start with Mashida. To begin with, Mashida has been inhabited since the prehistoric Homon era of Japan. You can see this through the discovery of old tools and structures from the time, such as the Tabata Stone Circle, which dates back to around the 3500 to 2800 BC. You can even visit, though, and I'm probably going to butcher some of these names, I apologize, Honmashita Archaeological Park to look at some prehistoric houses. Unfortunately, this sort of stuff is not seen very well in the way Pallet Town is portrayed by the games, especially considering from what we see in the games, Pallet Town is mostly just two houses and a lab. As time passed on, though, the region began to grow. For example, Mashida was a stop on the Silk Road, and eventually the Meiji Restoration would lead to a survey of the land, and on April 1st, 1889, Mashida was officially viewed as a village. In 1908, a railway would be built from Yokohama to, again, bear with me, Hashioji, with Mashida being an in-between location, helping the village grow even further. The city would continue to grow throughout the 20th century, not even receiving much damage from wars. By 1913, Mashida would be classified as a town, and by 1958, it would become a city. Today, the city is quite big, with a population of 431K as of 2020. Heck, I read through several sources that many who live in Mashida actually use it as like a transit city, and basically they live there, but they work in cities like Tokyo and Yokohama because it's in a pretty short transit distance. I think that's pretty cool. Now, for our Pokemon version of Pallet Town, it is likely that its history is slightly similar, just minus the development. Pallet Town was likely inhabited since the early days of the Kanto region, but unlike Mashita, it never grew to the size of a city, remaining as a smaller town. Other than that, the history of the two is simple, being that of locations slowly built up over time. While Mashita might not be as big as Tokyo or Yokohama, it is at least has bragging rights as the birthplace of Satoshi Tajiri and the likely inspiration for the first town that most people think of when they think of a town of Pokemon. While the real city may be larger than the Pallet Town we know, both share a spot in the hearts of the Pokemon fan base. So if you ever get the chance to visit Mashita, check out some of those Pokemon landmarks. Also, check out other things the city has to offer. It's a much bigger city than you would think based on Pallet Town. I know I would personally love to visit the archaeological park. That stuff's my jam, absolute jam. So thank you for watching. If you've gotten to this part, as I kind of mentioned at the start, I hope for this to be the first in a series exploring the history of the towns, cities, and some points of interest in the Pokemon world, the history behind the locations that inspired them. I hope future videos can be even better as I also improve my editing and ability to present to you, along with hopefully future cities having a lot more to the history than Mashita. Honestly, there were like a couple of prime resources I was able to use that actually went over the history of the city. Usually it was just like one or two paragraphs. If there's more I can find, the longer the video will be. And again, I'm also so sorry for mispronunciations. Please flood the comments with how I should have properly said those names, because that will drive up engagement. But I promise you, I tried. And if you want to check out the next one, make sure you subscribe. I also make videos based on Pokemon news. I might also eventually dabble in straight up history content. I would really like to make videos about different historical subjects, topics, whatever. So, subscribe to see that. And, I hope you have a great rest of your day or night or whatever.